Good afternoon and welcome to Ensuring Success 2016. We are live in Dallas at AMS Pictures and having a great time today. We're starting into hour 8 of Ensuring Success, and so we're about to, start getting maybe a little bit more giddy than we have been before. So I'm going to tell you first about CPE, and if you are among those who have been here for going on 8 sessions, you've heard this already 7 times, so you can probably recite it by this point in time, but that's okay. So if you'd like to get CPE for this session, we will display 3 CPE codes or number codes at the bottom of the screen throughout the session. And each time one of those 3 codes appears, I will call your attention to the code so you can see it on screen and make sure that you write that code down. At the end of the session, you'll have 3 codes that you have saved, and when you're ready to request CPE for this session, you'll click the CPE tab at the top of your screen, and that leads you to a page that shows all of the sessions that we've been doing today, and you can click any of the sessions you've attended, enter the CPE codes that you have diligently written down, and fill out an evaluation if you'd like, and then click to submit those codes, and you will receive your certificate on the spot. So I would also like to point out that you can reach us through email and through Twitter and through Facebook. So if you'd like to contact us and ask questions of our speakers, you can reach us email at info@ensuringsuccess.com. You can find us on Facebook on the CPA Practice Advisor Facebook page, and you can find us on Twitter with the hashtag DecemberCPE. And for those of you who've been here going on 8 hours, we would love to hear from you on Twitter and see how you're holding up. So let's just have a little shout out from those who are still hanging in there and hoping to finish the 10-hour marathon with us. So I'm about to introduce this session. I'd just like to call your attention to our sponsor logos that are all behind us. These are all the companies that are making this event possible. I'm going to just read them off real quickly. Intuit ProConnect, Rivio Clearinghouse, Avalara, Xero, SurePayroll, Sage, Stacy K Academy, and the Business Learning Institute. So we are very grateful to all of them for making this event a go today. I'm your moderator, Gail Perry. I am editor-in-chief of CPA Practice Advisor magazine, and I am joined by David Cieslak and Jim Burke, who are going to have 2 sessions back-to-back with us. So we're just going to sit here and relax for 2 sessions and chat about some particularly cool topics. The first one is called Small Firm Big Data. And first I'll have Jim and David introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the subject.
Go ahead, Dave.
David Cieslak with Arxis. I'm located in Los Angeles. I refer to myself as a CPA technologist, so I literally live at the intersection of accounting and technology. Some folks out there may know me as Inspector Gadget, and I'm always trying to understand the latest technology and how we can leverage that to work smarter.
All right, so Dave is at that intersection, and I'm always getting hit at that intersection with technology. So I'm Jim Burke. I'm a partner at Witham Smith & Brown, and I oversee internal technology at the firm. I speak about technology throughout the profession, spend a lot of time on airplanes, attending a lot of conferences, and just really preaching the word that in our profession, a CPA firm today is a technology company, and we can't live without technology.
Correct.
All right. The thing we specifically want to talk about in this session is a phrase that's become pretty predominant lately over the past few years in conversations and speeches and in writing throughout the profession, and that is the concept of big data. But also our audience for CPA Practice Advisor is often smaller to medium-sized firms, and so I'd like to talk a little bit about what is big data, and then we'll talk about what it means to the smaller CPA firm.
Sure. So, big data really is kind of an overarching term, but it really refers to kind of the data set of, really your data universe. And so it can be structured data, it can be unstructured data, but it really is, for any organization, it's the data universe that they've been amassing, over time. It could be operational, transactional, it could be, internal to the firm, it can be in connection with, client services that you're doing. But ultimately, that's just a wonderfully rich then data repository or collection of data. And so, like I said, big data is kind of that overarching, a descriptor for that.
Think about it this way. We all have large clients, small clients. There are a lot of large firms out there, a lot of small firms out there in the marketplace. Think about your client base. Everyone has lots of data. And in the past, CPAs would focus on financial statements, the data leading up to financial statements, helping our clients run their businesses better. Today, we're diving deeper into that data. It's all the other data they're maintaining. Clients have websites. They're collecting all kinds of metrics about their customers, how their customers shop, what their customers buy. All of our clients are doing this. Even the smallest of small clients today, because of technology, they have storefronts. They have a web presence. They're selling internationally when clients were never able to do that in the past. So they're collecting all this data, all these metrics. And now what do we do? What do we do with that data? And how do we help our clients take their businesses to the next level by analyzing that data?
Yeah, and I would add too that the size of that data, that data store, that data universe is becoming, large very quickly. So in most environments, it's accelerating.
And so take a typical small company. How do they collect that data?
They collect it, and many don't even realize they're collecting it today. So I have for example, I have a retail store client. They sell wine, right? On their website, they have wine 101 lessons. They store wine inventory for their clients, for their customers. So think about this. If I'm a business and I'm storing my client's inventory of wine, I know what they have, what years they have, probably what they like. Hey, maybe I have an opportunity to sell them additional wine in maybe the types of wine that they like, the years that they like. I have all this data. It's a matter of mining that data and really helping me to take my business to the next level. That holds true for any type of business, whether it's small or large today. Those are metrics that we never looked at before as CPAs in a profession. We always focused on financials. So now we can start to focus on some of this other data that our clients are capturing that they may not realize they're actually capturing.
Yeah, so Jim is giving an example of, maybe in this case, web, data that we're capturing as a part of, website visits and, consumer trends and so forth. But the data, quite honestly, can be, sourced from a number of different places. It could be your ERP solution. It can be the, the web visits and what we're observing in terms of, activity in and around, some kind of transactional site. It could be our CRM solution. And candidly, that's where the devil in the details starts to really come out is, historically, we've had data silos, we'll call them. So in other words, we've got, certain data that's maybe locked up inside of our ERP solution, other data that's maybe locked up inside of our CRM solution, and is this data integrated? And really, some of the value starts to come not in just analyzing, some of these silos of data, but really kind of combining it all together to get a macro view. And there's some tremendous insight that's potentially available to us when we're able to kind of get that take that step back and get that big picture view.
So, and what's happening today with technologies, think about cloud-based, web-based technologies, they're making it easier for us to have access to that data. With all these open APIs, with one system speaking to another system, one reaching in and grabbing metrics and data about the other, technology is leading that. So technology is making it easier for us to go through that process.
Okay, so we're going to put the first CPE code on the screen. So just take a look at the bottom of the screen and be sure to write down that code if you would like to collect CPE for this event. And you threw out a couple of acronyms. I just want to make sure that everyone watching knows what they are. So ERP and CRM.
ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning, and it really, think of it as your financial accounting solution. That's the best way to think of that. And it normally, a small business, if they're using QuickBooks, we don't normally refer to that as an ERP solution, but normally once they graduate into kind of that next tier up of accounting solution, you start becoming a little bit more holistic about the accounting solution across the organization. That's where the terminology ERP oftentimes enters the lexicon. And then CRM is customer relationship management. And so think of that as the place where we gather and track and really understand, all of our interactions with our customers. So think of that as your master customer database and a lot of extra, insightful information as well.
So all of this that you're talking about is a result of technology, right? I mean, I suppose.
Yeah, we can blame it on technology.
Yeah, blame it on technology. Technology is a driving factor behind businesses accumulating massive amounts of data, creating huge opportunities for us as professionals to help guide our clients. What do we do with that data now?
It's about leveraging the data.
It is, leveraging it and using that data from what happened yesterday to predict what's going to happen tomorrow, right?
Okay, let's go back to just one step back. So our clients have software systems that we've probably helped them put in place,
Probably.
or at least advised on or are aware of how they work. Throughout these systems, data is being collected in a lot of different ways depending on the type of business you have. So then how do you turn it into something that's usable?
Well, I think you probably have a few different options. I think historically, when we had these data silos, one of the approaches was to say, we got to try to aggregate this, try to pull this together in some unified master database, some master database repository. And so there was maybe an ETL, an extract, transform, and load process that would need to be done where we're pulling it out of System 1, System 2, and System 3 to aggregate it into this combined data store, this combined database. And then apply some reporting tools against that, that monolithic or that kind of aggregated data. Today, because of web APIs, because of some of the power of the tools that are available today, we have the ability to kind of let the data stay home, let it continue to live in its transactional systems, and the tools themselves now are able to make connections into these disparate systems and give you that overarching, that consolidated view without having to maybe go through an ETL process, which is time consuming, potentially CPU intensive. I mean, and to Jim's point, I mean, we want to be able to make decisions. We want real time insight to what's going on in an organization and be, and so we can be responsive to that. And if we're going through a whole kind of aggregation process, that's just one more thing we have to do before we can get insight into the business. So again, I'm really excited about a lot of the tools that are out today.
So am I. But very often our clients don't understand the data that they actually have. We talk about big data, we just assume everyone knows what big data is all about. So what we tend to do is we'll sit down with our clients and we'll ask maybe for their chief technologist, their CIO, their director of IT to be part of that meeting as well. Because maybe the CEO doesn't have a real complete grasp around, what data do I have? What is all the data that we've been accumulating for our clients, for our customers? So we sit down with all the individuals who may have access to that data to find out. We all learn about that process. Now that we've learned about all the data that exists in all those different systems, how can we analyze that data? And what are we looking to accomplish as a result of our analysis on that data?
Yeah, and I would, one last thing I would add to that too. I look at all of this and say, this is the process of getting value out of our data. This isn't, when we talk about big data, too often you look at it and go, why is that relevant or important, or why would it even be interesting to me? But really, it's understanding what we do with the data, and that to me is really where the payoff happens. It's the value from the data, the insights into your business. That to me is the promise of big data.
Think about this, Dave, right? So in the past, I keep going back to this, as accountants, we analyze financials. Our clients may struggle, right, from time to time. And what do? Print off internal financials. We look at internal financial statements, and we look at, all right, insurance expense, office expense, advertising, things like that. Okay, this is out of line. This is not in line with the industry. But go deeper. Look at buying trends. Look at selling trends. Look at history. Look at things like that to help drive our clients. Look what the airline industry has done, and not done, right? So look at what they've done with how you board aircraft, right? How does that impact the financial performance of an aircraft. If they can get that aircraft out of that airport quicker, into the sky, spend less time on the ground, think about it, they're making money. They're making more money. So we got to help our clients by thinking that way about the data. And to have us sitting in like a brainstorming session that we do in audit, sitting in a brainstorming session with our clients as they talk about data, and then lights go off for us about ways in which we can utilize that data, analyze that data to help take our clients to the next level and make them more profitable,
So
right?
it's about imagining, reimagining.
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's why it's fun for me doing this stuff, right?
Agreed.
So we have all the knowledge and all the tools in our brains to be able to do this stuff. And when you sit down, lights are going off about this, right? Then we're using technology tools to crunch the numbers and extract the data, right?
Yeah.
So how about some examples?
Well, I would tell you, so some of this, and I'll steal a play out of Jim's playbook here. I'll go back in time just a year or two, and all of us have been very oriented toward understanding our business, or trying to analyze what we do, how we do it, gain insights into the business, largely through Excel, largely through spreadsheets, and I would tell you that is quickly becoming the old school approach, the old way of doing things, because even that becomes kind of a time-intensive process potentially, where you got to take data and either key it, and even there it lacks a certain agility, as wonderfully adept as some folks have become with Excel, and even as flexible as that tool is. It's still, there's a certain agility you just don't recognize maybe with a spreadsheet. But so, when we think about spreadsheets and using that to kind of understand what's going on in the business, and then you're saying, well, are we going to put the spreadsheet on top of this data store? And maybe that's not the best mechanism for doing the analytics. And that's where I'm, then going to fast forward to now and say there's some great tools that allow us to do direct connections into these data stores. I keep calling them these databases or data sets. We don't view them maybe as silos quite the same way anymore, because these tools allow us to kind of link them together or have that aggregated view. But these tools then, we can do dashboards and dials and happy faces and thumbs up and thumbs down, and find out trending and for what's trending. So I'm going to keep coming back to the use of the word insight as well. So it's about value, it's about insight, it's about understanding what's working in an organization, what's not working, and giving you enough flexibility to basically, when you see something, to drill into it, to learn more, to understand root cause behind performance or underperformance in what you're observing.
So real life. So let's assume I'm a sole practitioner. I got a small business, a small practice. I focus on compilations and write-up and tax work. Well, what am I doing out of the season, out of my normal crunch busy season? I could be helping our clients by analyzing big data. So I have a client, which could be anyone's client. They sell wine, and it's a retail shop, and I alluded to this earlier. They have a website. And on that website, they allow their customers to store their wine inventory. They allow their customers to watch videos about just gaining knowledge about wine. Tasting wine, the quality of wine, the types of wine that are out there, what wine to have with what types of food. They collect lots of data and metrics. So they were struggling for a period of time, and we decided, you know what? I know they're maintaining big data, lots of data. Maybe some of the data that they're maintaining could help us to drive the business. This was a company that was lean. They cut overhead. They've done everything they could, and the bottom line is we just needed to grow the top line. We needed to increase revenue. So we started to look at that data. And in that room, we had the technology individuals for the company. We had the CFO. We had the CEO in the room in our initial meeting. And we started to find that some of the data, if we analyzed it, how could we market and utilize that data to generate revenue? So for example, is dealing with the inventory, the wine inventory. I know if someone likes Bordeaux, maybe we could market Bordeaux. Maybe we could have specials targeted to those customers. It's very targeted marketing, and we get a bigger bang for our buck. So they use that data and analysis that we came up with to have targeted marketing campaigns and advertising campaigns driven specifically to the customer base that we knew bought certain products. And it helped drive top line revenue. So that is something that as CPAs, we never did that before. Like I said, we analyze financial statements, right? We do that type of work. This was really thinking out of the box, taking advantage of technology and looking at all the data that may exist in our clients today. But any of us could do that.
And I'm going to actually amplify that comment, because I think Jim's making a fabulous point. I don't care what size practitioner you are. You could be, literally a sole practitioner. You could be working for a mid-sized firm. Gosh knows the large firms are all
doing it.
Have a focus in this area. But this is how we bring value to our clients. And so we think of, and oftentimes bemoan, the transactional side of the business, further, kind of going away, eroding every day through automation and, and really, and that's a tough way to make, a living anyways, and be profitable on the transactional side, or the, just really the more mundane, aspects of day-to-day, tax prep or accounting.
Yeah.
And so then you say, well, wait a minute, as CPAs, we should be able to help our clients and bring insight into their organization. So I look at big data as an opportunity for every single practitioner to say, you know what, how can I help my client add value? How can I help them gain insight into their business? Let's go through an imagination process. Let's talk about dashboards that might be particularly helpful in terms of giving them early, indications of, success or lack thereof, to help them spot trends, to double down on the things that are working, and retool around the things that aren't. And again, as CPAs, we keep saying, what are our opportunities going forward if more of this transactional type of business will be falling away? I look at this and I say, this is an amazing, extraordinary opportunity for us to add value.
Yeah, think about it this way as well, is that technology, it used to be a differentiator in firm size, right? Only the biggest firms could have the best technology in the past. Today, the sole practitioner on Main Street could utilize the same exact technology as the biggest of firms.
Absolutely.
And the advantage of that is when it comes to big data, analyzing big data, all the tools to do it are readily available regardless of firm size.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, if I'm a sole practitioner, I'm going to be all over that. To me, my advisory services practice is going to skyrocket. It's going to drive revenue for my business, because that's what it's all about today.
Agreed.
Yes, I know we're CPAs, we do audits, we also do tax returns, but advisory services, that's going to drive it. And a big part of advisory services in the future for our profession is going to be our ability to analyze that big data and more or less do predictive analytics around that big data.
Exactly.
We all could do it. And think about how we can deliver that to our clients. Think about all the new accounting systems that have popped up. You mentioned dashboards, dashlets. As a CEO, do you want a young CPO in a business, do you want to get a balance sheet, a P&L, a cash flow? Probably not. You want to get a dashboard that gives you metrics that you can react quickly to. So why can't we push some of these big data metrics right to the dashboards or dashlets for the CEOs of our businesses, right?
Absolutely agree. Well, and so you're starting to touch on, and I know we were talking about this even before we sat down, for this time together. The cloud comes into play here now too. I said earlier about data silos, and I might have painted a picture of this is internal data sets, and so I could have maybe a SQL database that contains some of my information, and another proprietary database that contains other information. Well, then does the cloud help or hinder some of this experience? And I would tell you that part of the modern tools, the modern tool sets that we're starting to work with, is they're going to be able to reach into both local data stores as well as make connections to cloud-based data sets, and again, give you that aggregation, give you that ability to create these dashboards and dials and ultimately the business insights, no matter where the data is.
So, so Dave's talking about the APIs, open APIs. Just think of APIs this.
And what APIs?
Think about it's an open window, open door into data. So historically, vendors used to protect that data. So vendors would protect it. I couldn't go in. I couldn't easily have access to it. Today, all the new systems that are popping up have open doors and open windows. I can go in. I can grab all the data as long as I know where it's at. I could take data from this place, combine it, and have new data sets. That's all it's about.
API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a kind of a techie term.
Open doors
but
and
it just
open
means
windows
how do we connect these
to
pieces?
all the data.
So you're talking about accounting programs that are collecting, or any kind of programs,
Any kind of
Anything,
software
yeah.
programs that are collecting
Anything.
data,
That's right.
and from the outside, third-party people who have the skill set able to go in.
You have the ability
instead
to
of them being
connect
locked
to these
down.
data sets using these APIs. Think of it as the tool set or the rule set that we're using to actually make that connection to the data.
Right, so think about it from a CPA firm perspective. What do we all have? We all have tax software, right? And we all have engagement management software. We all have practice management software. We have a lot of silos going on. When we can reach in through open APIs and connect that data, right? Now it makes sense. Now we can make sense of that data and then take that data to the next level. So that's what it has to do with open doors into that data, being able to pull the data together.
What kind of resistance is there, or might there be, among small accountants to get involved in this?
I think as I continue to interact with, especially smaller practitioners throughout the year, I think it's not their inability to do it. It's their, maybe their reluctance to get started. But then try to, entertain the conversation or engage them in the conversation around, their very best clients and what's the business that their very best clients are in, and how is it that they, partner with their very best clients, and pretty soon, they're pretty jazzed and saying, "Oh yeah, this, my client does this," and Jim gives an example of maybe a wine website or some kind of wine retailer, and when you start talking to your clients, and again, this is the smallest practitioner all the way through the largest, and you think of the the business of the business, as it were, and really, it's you have a perspective. You've walked the journey with them. You know them. You know their financial information. You may know their tax information. You have insights into that business yourself, and so really, I think some of it's just saying, can we just engage in a conversation? What would be information that would be helpful for you, that would give you greater insight into the business, and whether you're launching a new product line, whether you're trying to understand margin around production costs, whatever that is. I mean, most CPAs and especially when they think of their very best, their A clients, already have some good insights, and I think it's just encouraging them to start to engage in some of these conversations with their clientele.
And just think about it, it's not like wizardry, right? It's not this crazy stuff that is held by technologists. We can all do it. We can all, as CPAs, do it. And that's what I find when I go around the country and I talk about this. Lights start to go off. Yeah, I get it. Now I understand what big data is all about. I have lots of clients that have lots of data, that big data, and now I can help them take it to the next level. But once we start talking you through, they all understand, they see the opportunities that exist in that space. They all do. And again, any size firm can handle
Big
that.
data doesn't sound so scary once you start, kind of coming up with some of these concrete examples.
Okay, so we're going to put the second CPE code on the screen right now. So take a look at the screen, write down the code, save that if you plan to request CPE for this session. So I think that maybe one obstacle accountants might be finding with regard to going in the direction of offering this kind of analysis and insight to their clients is that, especially if they're on old school, we call it old school now, hourly time billing, and they're billing their clients by the, how many hours they've worked on their tax return, how many hours they do in their audit or their financials. So this is one more thing that they need to charge their clients for, and I think that the more traditional accounting mindset would be, well, how could I convince my clients to pay me even more to do this?
So think about it traditionally, right? So on those traditional services, the compilations, the reviews, the audits, they're turning into commodities, right? You're competing against every single other CPA firm in town. Tax returns, whether you're doing 1040s, 1120s, 1065s, commodity, you're competing against every other firm. Because what the client wants, for the most part, many clients, they want the product. They want that product to file with the IRS, to file with their bank, to justify their mortgages or lines of credit. This is the other stuff. This is the unique stuff that, when they think about it, these are the things that clients don't know they want, right? When you're delivering information on big data and analysis, you're giving the client really an open opportunity to take their business to the next level. So really, to me, sky's the limit with this. Going in, how you price these engagements, pricing it the right way, you're differentiating yourself as a CPA from all the other CPA firms in town that aren't doing this type of work. It's really a differentiator for a practice, especially a small practice.
And I would say this is not just more valuable work. This is some of the most valuable work you could do for a client. So I think it's an incredibly valid point. And the other thing I would suggest too is that, you know, and I've used the term dashboards or dials, and we think about, you know, again, what would help provide insight, you know, into the operational aspects of you know, insights into profitability, you know, just performance-based information with regards to, you know, an organization. And really, I would almost encourage folks to think of, you know, is there kind of a standard maybe battery of, you know, and especially if you've got some industry expertise, you already know what the key metrics are of success in a given industry. You have a sense of if you're in this industry, your gross margin should be this, your head count should be that, you shouldn't be, you know, more than, you know, X number of dollars or X percent in this area. And so if you already have a sense of, you know, where the performance, you know, thresholds should be, and then you start to work and say, but I'm going to actually help create some of these dashboards for my clients that are in, you know, these industries, the specialized areas that we operate in, and then from there, maybe I have an opportunity to write it once, create it once, and share it across multiple, and do a value add. Think fixed fee. So, you know, again, you're adding incredible value to the client. It becomes a fixed fee engagement for the practitioner, and you're leveraging your insight into key clients and into key industries that you already find yourself working in. So again, it's interesting. So when you asked us to get together and talk about big data, I thought, oh, big data is one of those things where it's just, as a term, I think most people go, you know, it sounds big. You know, it almost sounds daunting just by its, you know, its very terminology. But I really think that it is. It's an opportunity for value in almost no other way that we have available to us today.
And think about it, you know, around that table, when we sit down around the table, you talk about dashboards, dashlets. You know, I'm looking at one of the sponsors on the board, Xero, right? So Xero is all about dashboards, pushing dashboard information out to their customers. It's that concept. It's taking that concept, it's scaling it, right? It's taking that data, which is accounting related data. Now it's taking all the other data. Now, are we as CPAs creating those dashboards and writing those utilities? No, but we're working with individuals, programmers that are doing that for our clients. The tools are out there, the individuals are out there, and if you could deliver that type of product to your client, you think about today, so many CPA firms are becoming very niche-based. They're immersing themselves in a given industry, whether it's auto dealers or technology or construction, and you do this type of thing once. There's a lot of similar systems out there that are used throughout that industry. You can then replicate that and literally, you know, help every client take their business to the next level along that same industry.
So here's another term, you know, that you know, anybody who's going to want to become familiar with. It's called BI, so business intelligence. And so really think of business intelligence as the next step beyond spreadsheets. It is that insight tool. And so there's a number of BI tools, business intelligence tools that are in the marketplace today, and they are doing that some of this you know, this very functionality that we're talking about, bridging into different data sets from a single tool, whether they're local data sets or you know, cloud-based data repositories, and they're giving us, you know, think of it as report writing on steroids. I mean, it really is a great way to say, you know what, I'm going to quickly get you to a place where we're connecting, we're modeling, we're projecting, we're doing some slice and dice. Where the term, you know, we used to use was OLAP, online analytical processing. I probably don't use that term as much anymore. BI is really kind of the broader moniker that this all falls under, but just a number of great BI tools out there now. And so really, if you were to kind of say what, you know, this sounds intriguing, what might be, you know, the next step, do a little bit of research on BI tools and understand what they are, what they, you know, how they work, and think about, you know, does that have a place against, you know, the data universe that I operate in or that my clients operate in?
All affordable business intelligence tools that are out there. I mean, look at what Microsoft has done, right? We're all using Excel, we're all using Word in the marketplace today. But look at all the other tools that they've surrounded from a video perspective with Skype to their new business intelligence tools. I mean, the report writers, they're all readily available to all of us today. So you can utilize those tools to help with that dashboard creation, to help with the analytics around that big data space.
So you're a small accountant, let's say, and by small I don't necessarily mean like a sole practitioner, but maybe
could be though.
It could be. It could be a sole practitioner or a firm of, you know, I don't know, 3 to 5 partners or so, and you're thinking this sounds pretty intriguing. You have clients, let's say that they're primarily in certain industries that you know a lot about, but they're all using different programs. They're all different. They're all behaving differently, doing their business differently. The common thread is maybe the vertical, but not the way they do it. So where do you start if you want to move into this arena?
Okay,
of
so
this kind of
if I have a
service?
small firm, I have some senior partners, and I have some young professionals, right? I'm going to make sure that I bring my young professionals up to speed on technology, the tools that can help analyze that data. I'd send them out to conferences. I'd send them out to training sessions on how to utilize those tools in analyzing data. There's a number of those tools out there in the marketplace, so I would get them up to speed on that, and then really start to have discussions with my clients. Regardless of what, don't let the system scare you. Everyone uses different systems out there. Yes, there are a handful that many of our small business clients use, but everyone has something that's so unique. Well, let's learn about it. Let's learn about that unique system. More importantly, learn about the data and how is that data stored? Where is that data, and how can I get at that data, right? And once I understand that, once I have an understanding of these data extraction tools and how to pull that data, and then I can start analyzing that data and make sense of that data. So it all starts with really a technology education for certain individuals, and then really an education session with our clients to understand the systems they use and the data that they're actually maintaining.
Yeah, and I would say don't be scared off by the technology. Engage. And so I know, often as we're presented with a problem, there's a technical aspect of it, and then there's obviously a strategic aspect of it. And so focus on the strategy first. Focus on what's the value opportunity, for me, with this client, me within this industry, to bring some of this great expertise, some of this great knowledge, this great experience to bear, for this customer, for this industry. And again, don't be scared off by the technology, because the good news is at the same time, during all this time, the tools have been getting stronger, easier to use. The connectivity is far more straightforward, where you literally have an opportunity to say, I'm using this product, and this product. It goes, well, that's great, because I'm aware of this and hundreds more. And so I'll just make those connections, make that information available. And by the way, I'll even show you some examples of some things other people have done as well. So there's even just some quick start kind of abilities now with a lot of these tools, with some great examples. And so when we think about modeling, hopefully where you're quickly going to find yourself is it's your imagination is really going to be the thing that would be your only limit. To where you go with this.
And I love that. I love sitting down with our clients, not knowing where the final product is going to be, just really trying to understand the data. Let me start grabbing some of this data. What kind of sense can I make of this data that sits here to help our clients take their businesses to the next level? So you never know when you sit down in these sessions where it's going to go, what you're going to do. That's why I love doing this type of work so much. On financials, it's going to be a financial statement at the end of the day. It's going to be right. You have your balance sheet, you have your P&L. Tax returns, you're going to complete the tax return. On an analytics engagement, on big data, you never quite know what you're going to learn out of the data and where you're going to be able to help your client take their business.
So a little more terminology. Maybe in the old days we called this person a financial analyst or a business analyst. That's kind of the same pedigree or tool set that we're kind of referring to here. Take that same person, but now what we're saying is more of our staff, more of our team members, really almost across the organization, all of us need to have that, some kind of analytical mindset, some business insight, mindset. And so I would say, again, just from an orientation perspective, that is really kind of maybe where we've come from, but that is absolutely, something that everyone needs to be oriented toward.
Think about it. Are you struggling in your practice to keep those millennials engaged? And this is technology. This will drive it. It's not like tax. It's not like audit. It's something totally different. It's going in using skill sets that they've really had at their fingertips their entire lives. So now you're bringing them into your practice. They're really excited about this type of stuff. I will tell you, we've seen so many people get engaged at the young professional level in this whole space. They really, really enjoy analyzing data and helping our clients become better at managing their businesses by looking at that data.
But the more mature practitioners, by the way, there's huge, yes, I know, right? So there's huge opportunities for them because they've got the wisdom, they've got the insight, they've got the experience. And so that's some of the kind of the opportunity to work together with some of your more junior staff. You're basically saying, look, I've got 20 years of experience or however many years of experience, and I know the industry, I know the clients, and the junior folks may be far more comfortable with the tools, and this is an opportunity to work together.
Perfect. Think about exactly. So you nailed it. So you're bringing together that wisdom, that expertise that we have with the younger professionals that are more in tune with the technology. When you blend both of those two things together as professionals,
that's the opportunity.
That's the opportunity you have. Every CPA firm has that opportunity today. They all have the opportunity.
Okay, we're going to put one more CPE code on the screen. So this is your third code for this session. Make sure to write this down if you're planning on requesting CPE credit for this session. So I'm thinking of accountants who are used to doing the numbers and the taxes and the financials and the traditional accounting work, much of which, as you've pointed out, is becoming or about to become commoditized and being taken over by technology. So say the accountant isn't necessarily a creative thinker.
We're all creative thinkers. Come on, Gail.
Oh, that hurt.
Oh, I wasn't referring to the two of you by any means. But when you sit down and you've got some data in front of you, you're getting into the client's accounting software, are there any tips you could share for someone who's just starting out in this area of trying to become this financial analyst, of what kind of things should they be looking for?
Well, you know what? Don't do it alone, right? When you go in to analyze financials and look at that big data, look at data that sits behind her, that traditional way you went in alone. You analyze financial. I would pull together individuals that are within the company, whether it's marketing, whether it's technology, to understand. I would sit down and, like I said, let's equate it to a brainstorming session. Let's have a brainstorming session with our client to talk about the types of data that they maintain, right? Let's just sit down and talk about it, with no focus on financial. Let's understand the data, because quite frankly, we don't understand the data that our clients maintain. The client may not understand all the data, but by getting different individuals that live in that client data all day long, now we can start to understand what it's all about. And I'll tell you, lights are going to go off, because we're going to use our expertise, and we're going to see how lights go off to help. Hey, we could take that marketing data, we could take that data we've been capturing for our customers to help take our clients' business to the next level. So it's just don't do it alone. So my suggestion, do it with a group of individuals that in the past never participated in those meetings. And if the client is concerned that the client doesn't want to share P&L or financials with the marketing director or with the IT director, they don't have to. We don't have to sit down with financial statements. We could just all have a discussion about that big data. What data resides at our clients or on the web that relates to our customer?
So another term we'll use, KPIs, key performance indicators. Start maybe with KPIs, and so if you want to just do a web search and say, what are some KPIs that might be indicative for a particular industry, but maybe start with just some KPI-oriented examples. And one of the other things that you'll need to probably factor into the thinking as well is, I know we've kind of touched on maybe some more financially oriented information. Move beyond that, because it's not just about the finances, the financial side of things, it's operational as well. It's head count, it's square footage, it's number of new customers, it's lunch versus dinner, it's
all of that.
It's non-financial data, that's now being kind of laid down alongside the financial data, and that's really where some of the insight happens as well. And so there may be some additional data points you're going to want to pull in. So you may very well find there's other subsystems that you're going to want to kind of factor into the modeling exercise to make certain that you're gaining the full insight. And again, it's not just about debits and credits at the end of the month. We're talking about real-time, up to the moment kind of data, and that's both financial and non-financial to really get that insight.
Think about it as well. We're all running our own businesses, our own practices today. We have businesses that run. Many of us today are analyzing our practices differently. It's not just about the revenue, it's about the billing, it's about square footage, it's about the space. Are we putting individuals into shared space? Is it less square footage per person? We're looking at FTEs. We're looking at all the metrics. Why can't we help our clients do the same thing in analyzing their businesses, right?
Absolutely.
One of our attendees wants to know if you're really talking about accountants moving more into a marketing arena when they're talking about offering this kind of a new service and making it available to the clients.
To me, I'm helping clients, I'm helping CPAs create new revenue streams. It's keeping in touch with our changing profession.
Correct.
Right? That's all you have to do. My suggestion is for all CPAs, for everyone watching this streaming CPE today, it's about the changes that are taking place. All the sponsors on the board, it's about what they've changed in the profession and how we're adapting to those changes. All I'm saying is, broaden your horizons. In the past, if you had tax and accounting as revenue generators for your practice, you know what? Let's add a third piece to the pie. Let's add advisory services. Let's let it be driven by our analysis of big data. Why? It's easy to get into, all our clients are doing it, and the tools are readily available. So that's all it is. Is it marketing? Well, sure, it's part marketing, but it's adding additional revenue to the practice.
It's using your very best skills. It's really saying, you know what, part of this whole notion of continuing, and retooling is a continuous process. It's not just something, it's not an event, it's an ongoing process. So yes, we are talking about, new lines of business or new revenue streams, but it's one that should leverage, your very best capabilities and your best experience.
Yeah, differentiate your practice from every other practice in town, from every other CPA that's around. You'll be able, if you're in this space on advisory services, you'll be able to compete against the biggest of firms out there. You will, because technology, like I said, is no longer that differentiator. You have it at your fingertips. So broaden your horizons in a practice. Look at where you want to take that practice over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years. Where do you see revenue coming from? There's huge opportunity here in that space.
So we have a question that says there are so many programs out there. How do you know which APIs to use or to suggest to small business clients, especially if you're not a tech expert?
Well, and I would tell you, so you're right, there's lots of tools out there. You're going to look for a tool that really kind of positions itself as one that has a lot of data integrations already available. So in other words, it can readily connect to different database types or different applications directly. So in other words, those interfaces are already in place for you. And a lot of the good tools out there, the mid-tier tools out there, don't just connect with dozens of data sources. They can connect to hundreds of data sources. And so straight away, just by doing a little bit of configuration, you're instantly connected to all of your data universe. And so again, there's several mid-market products that are already positioned in this space and very affordable.
So we totally understand a lot of data gets locked up in legacy programs. You talked about legacy before, or old school. There are a tremendous amount of legacy data programs that are out there. Yes, and you don't have access to that data. But could you work with a programmer to take that data, export that data to some sort of file? Could you then go into that file and export? So the answer is yes. So maybe you have to jump through some hoops to get to the data, but I would argue you can always get to the data. No matter what, you can always get to the data.
Okay, one of our attendees says, most of my clients who try to data mine run into problems with trying to decipher the data fields in underlying data files and what those fields mean for the purpose of intelligent filtering. Are there apps available to put more clarity into the file layouts and the data fields?
Data schema. It's always that's always the rascal. And you're right. Some of the older, the legacy solutions out there, the data dictionaries, what's called the data schema, can be pretty confusing. I don't even know what it is I'm looking at. I would tell you most of the modern tools, are now going so far as to give you kind of a dictionary layer or a layer in between the reporting tool and the underlying data set to bring some common English or descriptors to this is what you're looking at and this is what you're going to probably want to drill in on or marry together in order to be able to come up with these dashboards.
So to that point, yes, I know those common data sets were always complex and very difficult to understand. The numbers were all together, maybe separated by commas or not even or zeros or something like that, right? But it was always the same sequence no matter what. In a client's, let's say, customer data file, each customer information was always contained in the same fields, just line by line by line. So understanding that, I know we're CPAs and we don't do that every single day. That's where sometimes it makes sense to bring a technology consultant along with us to help through that process.
Yeah, so that's what I said. Don't be scared of the technology.
Don't be afraid of it.
Engage when you need to, but the good news is it is getting easier. At the same time, we're challenging and encouraging, it's getting easier.
Okay, and the final question I've got has to do with how do you price these kinds of services?
Very carefully. I would say, this is, as I alluded to before, I think there's a value-added opportunity here. We have an opportunity to say, you know what, this is really kind of some of the very best, capabilities I have. I would suggest that this is a real value-add kind of opportunity. To me, this is not a time and materials engagement. In fact, to the contrary, this is again the most value that I can probably transmit to a customer.
This leads itself to like fixed price engagements. It really does. It really does. Forget the hourly billing, tracking your hours when it comes to this advisory services. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, and I understand when you first get in this space, you're going to be eating a lot of time. You're going to be learning, but you're going to be learning a lot about that data and how to report that data and what resonates with your clients. Eventually, you'll be making a significant amount of money by pricing these the right way. You'll learn about it as time goes on.
Right once, use many is the term we continue to use.
Absolutely, and that's where we talk about niches. Maybe I'm an expert in the technology niche. I have a lot of technology clients. Can I do something for that technology client, that first technology client I go into and analyze their data, that I can now replicate with others? So it doesn't cost me as much every single time that I'm doing it on my end.